it really is important to understand the mechanics of your own body, to know what muscles are weaker than others, what muscles are tighter than others. Just kind of understand your body symmetry and your ability to function just based off of positions, like basic things like squats, push-up position, plank position. Then you start to incorporate single leg work. So everything that you're doing, your body has to cooperate with each other. All the different parts of the body need to be in sync, in unison, for things to flow well. We can start to pinpoint and identify some of the muscles that aren't working hard enough or working too hard, which is not a good thing. So we got to balance that out. Our body is designed to be put through many vigorous things. It knows how to adapt. It knows what to do when it needs to overcompensate or compensate based off of the demand we're putting on it. Now, this isn't always a good thing. It's always going to be based off of how healthy your body is, how strong your muscles are, how flexible you're allowing your muscles and individuals to become, just so that way you can give yourself the benefits of maximizing results from every single move you do, every push-up, every squat, any weight training movement you do. Every rep counts. Every movement matters. So you don't want to bypass the little things looking for the overall goal, which would be, you know, your results. So along that path, you need to make sure that your body is being trained and being strengthened, so that way when you get to that goal, your body is working in unison, working together. Let me give you an example. When you're doing a squat, in an ideal world, you know, your knees are going to be lined up about the second toe. Feet are going to be pointed forward, preferably about hip width apart on spacing. So you're going to squat, dropping your hips back as if you're sitting in a chair, and everything from the hip down should be nice and lined up, facing forward from the toe to the knee to the hip. Up top, your upper body is just going to be nestled. No arching of your lower back, no bending forward at the hip. These are things that's important to understand you don't want your body to do. So let's just start with the hips and the lower. If you're able to do a squat without any of those body compositions transitioning off the line, meaning your knees are forward, your toes are forward, your hip alignment is nice and parallel, you feel very, very controlled with the balance on the way down and up, this is a good thing. For most people, it is not the case though. A lot of people are going to experience their front of their feet turning outward when you're doing a squat, and that's not a good thing. That's not a squat. And I guarantee you nobody's really paying attention to that. As long as you're dropping your hips low, your muscles are starting to fire off. That's the result we want if we want to feel our legs burning. But what you don't want to do is bypass the mechanics of the body just to go for that muscle burn, because you're going to experience the muscle burn, but the mechanics all along the way are going to be altered. So now you're changing the whole entire aspect of your body and the way that it functions, and that's not good, especially as we get older. So making sure that your feet don't turn outward is important to understand why they're doing it in the first place. Typically when you're squatting and your feet turn outward, there's tightened muscles. There's tight muscles that you probably either are aware of but don't know how significant it is, or you have no idea and you're just squatting and you just think this is normal, basically because you haven't been corrected under the supervision of a fit pro. So knowing that your feet turn out when you're doing a squat, your calves are going to be very tight. To generalize it, mainly your gastrocnemius, your soleus, your biceps femoris, which is that little muscle tendon thing on the opposite side of your knee. If you put your fingers on the back of your knee and just kind of rub it back and forth, you can feel your fingers kind of rolling over it. That's your biceps femoris. That's a muscle. It's a short head, and it connects to the knee, which will control your strings like a puppet. So if your feet are turning outward, that muscle's working too hard, as are your gastrocnemius, again, calves. Let's just summarize that. So what you really want to focus on is just stretching them. Standing calf raises, just to kind of get the muscle tissues loosened up. Best thing to do before anything is the foam roll, and I'll take that to my grave. Foam roll is how you loosen up all the muscles, especially before you're going to do anything vigorous, any activity. So foam roll your muscles before you specifically target that muscle. So if you're going to do some squats, it's probably important that you foam roll your calves, your hamstrings, your quadriceps, try to touch up on your IT band. These are just important things that you want to do so that way you give yourself the best opportunity to maximize the results and limit the injury aspect of it. And tight muscles really cause a lot of injuries. So you want to really focus on the correct form. Don't even put weight on your back for squats with barbell. Focus on the basic squat. Get the appropriate form down before you move on and progress that into, you know, unstable platforms, weight training, anything explosive. First, let's focus on the basic. If your feet are turning out, you have tight muscles. We got to work on those. Same time, you also have muscles that aren't strong enough to handle that load. Typically, it's going to come from the middle part of your hamstrings, and it's also going to come from the middle part of your, you know, gastrocnemius calves. So you want to focus on straight mechanics of loading as far as strength. And you can do a lot of this using stabilization equipment like suspension straps, you know, stability medicine balls, anything to allow you to pinpoint specific movements, but still making sure that you focus on good posture and the mechanics take their time. So don't rush anything when it comes to that. If your knees are turning inward when you're squatting, well, obviously you're going to have some tight muscles, and you're also going to have some muscles that are weakened. So your knees are turning in, the insides of your legs, you know, primarily common called your adductor complex, they're overworking, they're working harder, they're pulling your knees in to overcompensate because of the lack of the strength on the outside of your leg, which would be kind of the outside of the thigh, and also your glutes. All these things are weakened, so what happens is your knees fold inward, overworking the inner part of your muscles here. There's a lot of cool scientific names, but just understand it's the inside of your thighs that are overworking when your knees are pulling in. So the muscles that should be lining them up to make sure they stay over the toe is going to be the glutes medius maximus and your outside of your thigh, you know, the medial oblique. Some of these names are going to confuse you, like the oblique, which we understand to be right around the core area, while your VMO, which is, again, your medial oblique, which is going to be more of the thigh. Just much like the biceps femoris is not your bicep muscle. Your biceps femoris is going to be right behind the knee. There's a short head and then the long head. Long head will connect all the way up to the hip. But just understanding which muscles are tight, which muscles are not tight, which muscles are stronger, which muscles aren't. The basic squat will give you all those answers as long as you understand what you're looking for. And if you don't understand what you're looking for, that's when you seek out help of a fit pro. They can pinpoint these things for you, tell you some of the things that you need to work on. A lot of it you can do yourself, because a lot of it is basic stretching, foam rolling, basic body movements, functional dynamic movements to help strengthen them up. You know, tube walking, putting resistance band around your legs and just walking lateral with your legs open, very good for strengthening up your hips, inner and outer. So I always recommend tube walking just for anybody, because it's a great way to activate the hips, keeping them safe also. So I just wanted to touch up on that. We could always go up top to the upper part of the body off the squat to start to find out the muscles that are working too hard on the upper body, but we'll put that in another video. But right now I want you to be able to focus on the basic squat from the hip down. When you're squatting, are you feel like you're falling forward, your heels are coming off the ground? Well, you need to make sure that you're pulling your hips back, visualizing that you're actually sitting in a chair. Matter of fact, if that is what's happening to you, you're squatting, your heels are falling forward, or worse, you're falling backward, sit down in a chair and then stand up. And do that over and over until you can sit down in the said chair and stand back up without falling off balance, without using your hands to catch and save you. This is very rudimentary, but very understanding that this is going to help create some of the basic guidelines just for understanding the human body, specifically yours. So doing a squat, there should be no falling forward or falling backward. Line it up, stabilize it. Put the chair into your booty if you need to for a while. Make sure that when you're squatting that your toes aren't turning outward. Because if they are, remember, you got tight muscles and you have weak muscles, primarily in your calf area, your soleus, which is just underneath the calf. Also, in that biceps piriformis, which is behind the knee. A lot of the times that thing just needs to be stretched or foam rolled. Put it on your IT band all the way up from the side of your hip down to the side of your knee. You won't have to ask. You will not have to ask. If it's tight and it hurts, it's a good thing. Pain is good. Not always, but in that case it is. Make sure that also when you're doing the squat that your knees aren't buckling, which is very common. The bow-legged look. That is probably the more common than any of them. And a lot of the times it's just because people skip leg day. It's been like that since the beginning of time. Skipping leg day just became a thing. You know who doesn't skip leg day is Batman. Saw that on the shirt. So make sure that you're doing a leg day. Leg day doesn't mean you're going out there and you're pushing up 300 squat benches, 300 pounds on a squat. I'm just talking about doing basics. Regular squats to a step up, single leg lunges, grab a couple dumbbells, and then intensify the load. But by no means should you be going to doing all these crazy YouTube video workouts you're seeing when you can't even do a regular squat without your body transitioning away from the proper form. So get understanding on the basics of just how to neutralize your body and move it without any extra weight or anything that's going to make it harder. This is just a basic assessment on yourself. If you don't know your limits, current limits, or your current issues, well, you need to go find them out. And that's what a Fit Pro will do, a Fit Pro, aka personal trainer. You need to make sure that you're getting an understanding of why your body's doing certain things and what can you do to fix these. Most of the time, they're very easy to do. But if you keep doing things beyond what you should be doing, which is form, as opposed to just pushing heavy weight for pictures, well, you're doing a lot of damage in this time frame. And a lot of the damage is going to be irreparable if you don't pay attention to it right away. So check it out, look into it. If you ever have questions on the correct form for a squat, or if certain things are happening to you and you want a little bit more detail, or if you have questions about upper body before I get to that, message me and I'll let you know. I'll give you the info. I usually like to make videos about it too because I'm a visual learner and I know a lot of people are, so we'll get to that. But try it out, check it out, do 10 squats. You'll get a good understanding of what your body's capable of doing. And from there, you progress it. All right, we'll talk to you guys soon.